Hi, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board of Zoning Appeals and introduction of members starting at my left.
Jeff Wilson, BZA alternate.
Delore, Township Trustee Representative.
Bob Potter, Chairman, I'm sorry.
Pat Mahoney from Planning Commission.
Dennis Kohler, Building Inspector.
Katrina Ingram, Planning and Zoning.
David Paris, Legal Counsel for Bedford Township.
Jody Rector, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. I'd like to everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I stepped on something.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now we're looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Any second?
Support.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which is April 7th.
Make that motion to approve the April 7th minutes.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Potter,
Yes.
I think we're going to hold off on the minutes because Mr. Gore was absent and Mr. Wilson is an alternate. I only have 2 members here tonight, so we will have to hold off on approving the minutes, and we just realized that. Okay? So we're just going to, we'll put, pardon me?
Pat and I do it then?
No.
Or was Pat not here? I were both there.
Let's go ahead and make that motion with just you and Pat, and we'll excuse the others, and then if we need to bring it back for another motion, we'll the next meeting, but at least we'll have them approved as they're submitted.
Ready?
Should I make the motion?
Sure.
I move we accept the minutes from the April 7, 2025 meeting.
All support? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Next item, thank you, Jody. Next item is new business, and I need a motion to open the public hearing for the appeal of John and Megan Sherman on Rock Road.
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing for John and Megan Sherman at 3901 West Rock Road, reference a variance of a 4-foot fence requirement.
I'd second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Jody, would you care to read the summary for us?
Yes, again, the applicants are John and Megan Sherman, 3901 West Rock Road, Petersburg, Michigan, 49270, parcel number 5802-006-01005 on 6.49 acres, agriculturally zoned. The applicant is installing an in-ground pool and is requesting a variance of a 4-foot fence requirement to install a power safety cover. Per section 400-901, number 14, letter F, states, for the protection of the general public, all areas containing swimming pools shall be completely enclosed by a fence not less than 4 feet in height and above the surface of the ground, of chain link or equal impenetrable construction. All vertical membranes of said fence shall be on the swimming pool side thereof, and all horizontal members shall be spaced not more than 1 1/2 inches apart. The gate shall be self-closing and latching type, with the latch on the inside of the gate and not readily available for children to open. Gate shall be capable of being securely locked. Such enclosure shall be located not more than 100 feet distance from the swimming pool. A building or masonry wall at least 4 feet in height may be used, all or in part of such swimming pool enclosure. However, if the swimming pool is constructed above ground so that the exterior thereof is at least 44 inches above ground level, measuring perpendicularly from the top of the said pool, and exterior construction of said pool above ground pool meets the minimum construction standards for the pool enclosures contained in the preceding paragraph. An entry to such above ground pool is only by means of a ladder, and that locks up into place when the pool is not in use. Then the fence and the gate required in the preceding paragraph of this section shall not be required. As noted in the 2015 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, Section 305 barrier requirements, swimming pools with power safety cover that complies with the ASTMF 1346 is an exception to the required barrier code, however, does not comply by ordinance. Thus, the variance request of the 4-foot fence requirement from the ordinance to allow the automatic pool cover to serve as protection of the general public as provided in Section 305 of the 2015 International Building Code exception requirement for swimming pools and spas. The applicant has stated in the submitted letter, due to the natural slope and grading of the property, constructing a fence would be challenging and restricted access to the rear of the property, and the home is set back over 600 feet from the road and over 60 feet from the east and the west property lines. The applicant further stated the APC 365 automatic pool cover is fully compliant with the ASTM standards and would install an accidental entry alarm as an additional precaution. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received, and should the variance be given to this request, the following is required. A variance from Section 400.901, number 14, letter F of a 4-foot fence requirement where such enclosure shall not be located more than 100 feet distance from the swimming pool to install an in-ground pool with an automatic powered safety cover meeting the ASTM standards for the safety cover specifications per 2015 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, Section 305, barrier requirements for exception for swimming pools and spas. I did want to let the board know, I did get an email from Ms. Keene. She is unable to attend the meeting, 1056 West Temperance. Would you like me to read her email or voice that she is in opposition of this request?
Probably should read it so it's on the record.
Okay. She is unable to attend the meeting tonight. I would like to present this as comment to the public hearing issue. The thought process that using an electric pool cover is safer versus a fence enclosure had set precedents that early this year. I didn't approve of then, and I still don't. If the pool is inside a fenced area, that is different, but a pool is just without a fence. I do not feel this is safe for humans or animals. Just because it is agricultural makes it even more concerning, because there is a mindset out of the country, no close neighbor, bringing a bland disregard for rules and concerns of safety. Since I cannot see the plan or know exactly what will be said or why, I just don't think the township should be of the mindset that a safety net versus a fence be the ultimate safety device when it comes to pools. While a fence may not prevent, it is determined, and the cover is controlled by humans. All it takes is that one time that someone takes to mind, no one's out there, and that's when someone drowns. I do believe if the township agrees, there should be some sort of liability clause signed to prevent a lawsuit towards the Board of Zoning Appeal and township as a whole. Remember, planning makes rules and guidelines for the betterment of all parties within the township. BZA is the entity which allows an individual to break or disregard for those rules of their own self-serving purpose. Thank you, Ms. Keene, Temperance. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Jody. Would the applicant like to approach the bench? Do you folks have anything you'd like to add? Please state your name and address for the record.
John and Megan Sherman, 3901 West Rock Road, Petersburg, Michigan, 49270.
I think that we're just available to answer questions on top of what we've provided. We provided the brochure so that you know what cover we're looking at and
Already purchased.
yes, the details of that
So,
are on there.
so in reality, what we decided was that the pool cover for our family is actually safer than we think a fence could be. We think that a child can easily jump over a fence. I've seen people jump over fences pretty effortlessly. This fence was very expensive. It was $21,000. This cover is very expensive. It was $21,000, and we feel that this would be a safer option for us than a simple fence would be for our family. And that's kind of why we think that this would be safer, essentially.
Okay. I believe you are aware that we're one person shy on the board today, so normally we have 5 voting members. Today we only have 4.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Still need
So we need 3 of the 4, essentially.
Yeah.
Mr. Potter, can we have the attorney at least address that for the record so that's clear for the applicants? Thank you.
Yes, so as you know, the board is 1 member short today, and for an affirmative vote for your application, you would need a majority of the sitting members, so that is the reason why you need a 3 at least a 3 in approval vote. If there is a 2-2 tie, the application fails.
And if it failed, when would we be able to, I guess, come back and try again? Or are we able to? Because
I believe there has to be a change in the request to come back. So I'm not sure if there would be an option to come back.
okay, we just saw a similar situation get approved on April 7th, so just weren't sure.
Okay. There's nobody else public, so
I move we close the public hearing.
super, thank you.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. If you folks would stay there in case the board has any questions for you.
So this is the second or third one like this that has come before us. And they're all unique, and we will have them based on their merits for each individual property. George, if we can go back up with the property line, please. Thank you. Well, there we go, right there. Similar to one that we approved probably a year or so ago, there's plenty of acreage, but there are houses closer. I mean, you got one right next door. I don't know if they have kids or if they could walk over, or they.
My brother's house.
It's your brother's house?
Yeah.
So we're well familiar with the cover, and it is, expensive, it's safe, it meets all the guidelines. As far as the practical difficulties, cost of a fence is not a practical difficulties. Now, logistically, if there's power lines in place, maybe there's a leach field where the septic tank is, where the fence is going to go by, or removal of trees or something of that nature.
Trees would be removed probably for the fence.
I mean, if the trees would have to be cut down, but the slope terrain and logistically challenging. He said it would also be very intrusive, negatively affect the open.
Slope was part of it, but also the fact that the ordinance hasn't been updated.
Correct, and we looked at that at the last one too. And again, these, like you said, when these covers were put out, I think. Did we say we were going to look at that?
77 was the last time you guys updated it. Yeah.
I have spoken with legal, and I've spoken with the building official, and at this time, I believe, being that, I will say from the 11 years I've been here, this is only the third one that's been here since
Correct.
I've been here. I believe at this time, I don't think we're going to look, just because the building code allows for it, I don't believe we're looking unless the township board was to give me directions.
Okay.
This way, the neighbors are notified if someone does desire not to have a fence around a pool. Only way it would be notified is through the BZA and a variance process.
Yeah.
But it's something that the board would have to give direction on for us to look at it. But I did speak with Mr. Goldsmith on it, and I believe this is the safest way for not only the property owner but the township, because the neighbors are notified of not requiring a fence. Different when you're looking at larger parcels compared to if someone was to put in a in-ground pool in a neighborhood and just.
And this is what we're looking at, because this is unique, because it's out there. It's almost 7 acres out in the middle of nowhere in the trees. I mean, if somebody's going to come and they're going to have to park on Route Road, walk back 2 football fields, and
No trespassing signs too.
yeah. But I did ask Phil last time, and I forgot what his answer was because it's so long ago. How do we absolve our liability if something does happen and we grant this variance? I remember asking Phil the last one.
Idea practical?
It is practical, but I spoke with Phil today on the question of liability, and we determined that hypothetically, if you were to approve an application such as this one, that there would not be any liability on Bedford Township, for the reason that this exception for a pool cover is provided for in the housing code, and this applicant for this application has specified that it fits the ASTM requirements for that pool cover specified in the building code, and for the reason also that the unique circumstances of this applicant with the rural setting, that there's no liability here.
I think that's what now is coming back, and that's what we talked about at the previous one. I mean,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, there was talk too, and I forget because it was probably, I mean, maybe a couple of years ago, but there was I know there was discussion on the, the switch, right? The control for it, right? And there was something, obviously it can't be on a pole next to the pool. There was discussion on how to, and I'm sure there's requirements when they set them up.
Is that going to be in the house?
No, I think it will be outside. It will depend on the electrical, but it's a
Keypad with a code to get in, and it's at a certain height where a child couldn't reach it.
Yeah. Maybe, I think, as I recall, there was an amendment added to our previous decision that that the control panel, et cetera, had to be installed, per the manufacturer guideline to meet the, the requirement, meet the warranty, meet the, all the various, right? It couldn't be, it couldn't be set on the ground. It couldn't, the code couldn't be, overridden or whatever it was. It had to be done per manufacturer specifications.
Our pool company is, I guess, a brand provider of this cover, so they have to, us to have the warranty, they have to appease how it's supposed to be set up.
Yeah. And Mr. Chair, Mr. Wilson is correct. There was discussion. I'm not 100% sure on the whole process of the discussion, but there was discussion of the height of where the keypad or the key would be located. The one he's speaking of, I think it was inside their garage where they were going to have the keypad access. But I think that's where that discussion was going, is if we're going to put the safety cover with the keypad and the kid and a child has the keypad code, is it accessible to them to open and close it whenever freely access? And I believe that's what Mr. Wilson is speaking of with the last one. And I believe on that one, the applicant has stated that they would be willing to put in an alarm. And I believe on the one that Mr. Wilson's talking about, they did require a pool alarm as well for a backup safety code. That would, if the movement in the water, the alarm would go off.
And I agree. I agree with both of you folks that I have kids, okay, and I have a above ground pool that sits 5.5 feet up, and we have a deck. But when they were young, of course they're all older now, but when they were younger, they were able to scale that. So a 4-foot fence is scalable by probably a 2 or 3. My granddaughter's over right now, and and she can get up and down the ladder to the deck to get to the pool. But
that's assuming a gate's closed, right?
Yeah, we have a self-closing gate. So I understand what you're saying. A 4-foot fence, not the biggest deterrent. My pool sits up over 5 feet, and I've seen my kids just
hop right in.
They're ready to get in. So.
We personally feel most comfortable with it being completely closed overnight. No child can get outside.
Right.
I mean, outside the slider or anything. That's what we feel safest with for our children.
Did you contact your insurance company? I'm just curious what they said.
No, I've looked into that, but I did not call our actual insurance company. Some allow it, and some have different costs based on not having a fence. That's what I understand. I have not called our actual insurance company.
Happy to, though.
Anybody? The only practical difficulty that I'm seeing right now is just a natural slope of the property that's logistically challenging for a fence. And the fact that I guess this does meet or exceed safety standards outside of our ordinance.
It's really hard to find information about which is safer. There's no studies. It is rare. They don't sell a lot of pool covers, apparently. I talked to a concrete guy who works around pools. He says maybe 1 out of 10 pools have a pool cover. So I really have a lot of information. And it seems like some sources refer to pool covers as an added layer of protection, as opposed to like the sole protection that you can have around a pool. That gives the same protection as a 4-foot fence does, but people still drown in pools where there's 4-foot fences.
Either way, right. Yeah, I think we had to make a financial decision if this was worth it
And
to
they
us
probably-
to do this regardless, and then we have
I know they're not
really
cheap.
do
$21,000.
And I do agree with you, the pond right next, is your brother's pond, or?
We have 5 ponds within.
Yeah, I mean, those ponds are more accessible than,
Can't find kids in ponds.
listen, I'm very partial to water safety. In the sheriff's department, I spent 20 years on our dive team, and I've been on approximately 100 recoveries.
Oh, wow.
And so this is I'm very anxious when it comes to water, when it comes to ponds and pools and everything like that. So we just got to make sure but again, those ponds are more accessible than any pool.
Right. If
they
they're
can-
out on a walk or
Yes.
whatever. All it, yeah.
But still, the township ordinance says fence.
Yes.
And, I can understand where the family's kids would be more aware of what to do and what not, whether they follow the directions or their knowledge of what to do or not do. But other kids that are in the area, other kids that may be invited in with family gatherings or friends and family gatherings and stuff, I agree with the idea of an added layer of protection. But still, to me, a fence offers a number of advantages besides it being required by the ordinance. One is that the fence with the self-locking gate makes the area not readily available to kids. It's a safety requirement. No one has to remember to close the gate. It closes the gate by itself. So when there's a party going on or whatever, I know your intention is to close it when it's not in use, but that doesn't mean it will be.
I think the event would happen within the fence.
Gate and fence
Yeah.
still works when there's an electrical outage,
We have a
which
generator.
may happen. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anything mechanical, the generator breaks, the pool cover will break. 15 years down the road, the fence still works. Granted, you can climb a fence, but a fence is something that kids, strangers will understand. Whether they choose to follow it, it's on them. If they want to jump the fence and go do something, well, you can't really stop it. But you have a layer of protection for your own liability or your own responsibility that is required by the township, a deterrent. Like I said, the sliding pool covers will break and need repair, and the fence is always going to be there. Now, sure, there's going to be energy savings available from the sound of the cost of the cover. It's going to take quite a few years to pay just based on energy savings, but to me, until the township decides, okay, we're going to approach this and we're going to be fine with either the fence or the automatic pool cover, I think until that time, we stick with the fence. If you want the pool cover too, fine.
Sure.
As an added layer of protection or for whatever reason. But, my feeling on it is keep the fence.
Question for you, or comment, I guess. This ordinance is 47 years old. This technology was not around at
I'd
all.
like to address that, and I agree. There are some ordinances that haven't kept up with technology, but even so, even 50 years later, I would still leave it just the way it is.
Sure.
And the Board of Zoning Appeals looks at cases case by case.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
And, we look at more than, there's just, I would have an issue if you were in a residential area
Yeah.
and if it was more population dense.
Fair.
I look where you're at and it seems like you're, out in an agricultural property. It is deep back off the road. No trespassing signs. I saw those when I went over there. There's really no excuse for anybody to stray onto the property. I worry more about, if you've got family members you're ever going to have over. Mm-hmm. And, so one life. But I think it should stay just the way it is, and we can look at it, or whoever's on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I agree with Mr. Mahoney as far as if this was a residential area, a subdivision, it would be a hard no. It wouldn't even be a question for me.
Right.
Absolutely.
And again, looking back, almost 7 acres, you're 600 feet off the roadway. There's a pond within probably 150, I just guesstimating from here.
Sure.
2 ponds within walking distance that have no fences whatsoever. And it looks like there's trails all through in the woods to go to those.
There's a pond right behind us too that you can't see on there.
Okay.
Young children.
Yeah. So granted, I'm comfortable with the location and the fact that this meets and exceeds safety standards for the pool. For George.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah. Oh.
I just wanted to point out and give some clarification. When a pond goes through a site plan approval process, we look at slopes and grades. So that's why some ponds don't have fences. Just for clarification purposes, is that it's on a slope. In a pool, you could fall in the deep end and it's 12 feet. In a pond, if the child was to walk into the pond, it's a slope grade down. So that's where the difference of whether a pond has a fence is determined when it goes through site plan approval process by the Planning Commission. They can always require the fence, and it's determined case by case.
In my career, the water doesn't care about slopes if a little kid gets into it.
And I agree with that. I just wanted why that some ponds don't have, because some pools that are 4 feet don't have fences either. So I'm just giving the clarification of the ponds that don't have fences. But I did want to point out that the applicant did provide some practical difficulty in her letter where she states that the fence would cut across slope terrains, create barriers to access the back portion of their property. And then they do state at the bottom that the dense tree coverage near the pool makes the use of the power safety cover more beneficial in protecting the pool from debris. Also, she does provide additional safety measures should there be a motion may want to take into consideration. The pool will remain closed at all times when not in use, and that they are willing to install an accidental entry alarm as a fail-safe, as a backup if the cover was to be left off. I believe that's if any water movement, the alarm would go off. So I just wanted to point those things out of the letter that she did provide.
I kind of took it from a different perspective. I agree. I don't know that it would be worth Bedford relooking at the code, but if for the cover to be ASTM certified in the national level, somebody has the data that says that pool cover is equal to or better than a fence. And if we were to write a new code today, which we're not going to do, for all kinds of different things, we would, I assume, and maybe legal counsel could guide us, but I would assume that we would look at all of kind of the national codes or state codes or things like that as a baseline, and then say, okay, for Bedford, which things, broadly we'll take national and state guidance, and then what things for Bedford make sense, right? And pick out those exceptions, whatever they may be. Now, I'm not saying that this wouldn't be one of those things, but I think the way that things would start fresh today would be taking that national state guidance that has all the research and the statistics and things like that. So that's at least my mindset, when it comes to the safety as compared with a fence or something like that. So
we decided to do the deep end just 4.5 feet, so it's not a deep pool, just so that you know.
Still deep enough to drown, though, like
Right.
Joe mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still more concerned about the ponds than the pool, honestly. I'm looking at
We
those
say that's
ponds and
what
I'm
we
like,
say, too.
oh,
They're dark, you can't find you probably know. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service,
Oh, yeah.
by the way. But
Yeah.
that's a different story.
it makes
Does
me
the
nervous.
township reserve the right to inspect properties at any given time? To make sure this is still working? I'm just curious. If that ever stopped working, you got to put a fence up.
Right.
How do we?
If the neighbor complained, we might do property maintenance inspection, but we don't go out on a yearly basis to see if they're following, if their power safety covers are working.
Because these are maintenance intense, I think, and debris can, cause the
The pool company says
Still gotta
that
keep 'em
when they open,
clean.
they close it, they inspect the power cover. So when they come and open it, they inspect it, and when they close it, they inspect it.
And then
So-
they service it.
And they service it if they see something's wrong with it, kind of like a oil change to a car or something of that nature.
I think where they're located, they're gonna want it to work just because of the amount of leaves that they have.
Yeah. Cottonwood.
Dennis knows.
I see them gumming up
Having a
your
pool,
rails.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just vacuumed leaves for an hour and a half today.
The cottonwood's coming too.
cottonwood too.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or
None for me.
comments? Are we ready for a motion, one way or the other?
I'll make a motion. We grant a variance from section 400.901, number 14F, on a 4-foot fence requirement where such enclosure shall be located not more than 100 feet distance from the swimming pool to install an in-ground pool with an automatic powered safety cover meeting ASTM standards for safety cover specifications per the 2015 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code per section 305 barrier requirements for exceptions for swimming pools and spas for John and Megan Sherman at 3901 West Rauch Road in Petersburg, Michigan.
I will support with, are you done with your motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I will support with a friendly amendment that they will install an accidental entry alarm as a fail-safe. And I would also add in a practical difficulty. The main one I see is the natural slope of the property logistically is challenging to install a fence. And that the fact that the cover that they're putting in actually exceeds the safety standards for a pool cover.
Accept.
I would just,
Any discussion?
I would just potentially add or ask that when we were saying installation, you probably covered it, but, per the manufacturer guideline in terms of the type of keypad, the height of the keypad, et cetera. So I think you probably have that covered. Because I know that we had talked
Probably
about.
wouldn't even install it without it being in a.
I mean, there's-
automatic.
Yeah, I think they were going to put it in our garage. So
We have a pole barn right there.
Pat, you okay with that?
I accepted it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, I think we're ready for roll call vote.
Mr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Potter.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay,
thank you.
all righty. Thank you, folks.
You guys.
Let's see, I was going to say public comment, but there is no public comment on the next. The next item would be board and staff comments. Anybody?
Yes, we will be having a meeting on July 7th. The deadline isn't until Monday, the 16th. However, we already have an application
Okay.
for the July 7th meeting. So please check your calendars, and I will send an email out to let the other board members know and advise if we need any other alternates.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have. Have a good evening.
Any other comments? It's a good discussion tonight. Thank you, everyone. Is anybody interested in the next item, adjournment?
Yeah, I suppose.
You'll-
Motion.
Okay, that's
Second.
accepted.